Hi everyone, we're going to tackle the topic of relative change, and we're going to tackle this with percentages. We've done relative change before. As a reminder, that's simply the formula of new minus old over old, or you can think of just small minus big over big, or big minus small over small. That's the relative change formula. So nothing's changed there. The only thing that's changed is we're going to deal with statistics that give us percentages. So for example, here's a stat that 2.2% of teenage women gave birth in 2015. In 2016, nearly 3.2% of teenage women gave birth. Is this a true or a false statement? The rate of teenagers giving birth increased 1% in 1 year. Well, that's actually a false statement, and the reason why I want to give you caution is because it said increased by, right? It's giving you a rate. Well, if I'm going to do relative change, I have to do new minus old over old. Well, this would be my new value. This would be my old value. So if I'm going to say increased by or went up by, I better be doing the new minus old over old formula. So let's do that now. So that gives me 3.2, that's my new, minus my 2.2 over my old of 2.2. Of course, 3.2 minus 2.2 is 1. 1 divided by 2.2 gives me 0.454, 45. And of course, we move the decimal 2 places, or we can think about that as multiplying by 100. So that's going to give me 45 point, and I can round that up to 5. Right, I'm looking at this number, and because there's the 5 there, that 4 gets rounded to a 5. So this is not a true statement. The rate of teenagers giving birth actually increased by 45.5% in 1 year. But you might say, hey, Ms. Sorensen, there is a 1% difference. There must be some sort of way to state 1% increase without being incorrect. And you're right. Let me show you what that looks like. So here we go. The rate of teenagers giving birth increased by only 1 percentage point in 1 year. Only 1 percentage point. So you're actually saying the phrase percentage point when you're talking about going up 1%. However, when you're talking about the rate, or you're talking about how much is increased by, you would say the rate of teenagers giving birth has increased by over 45% in 1 year. These are both true, and you would want to use them to make a point depending on what you're arguing with. If you want to say, maybe argue perhaps that we should not allow birth control to be discussed in health class, and you would say, hey, we don't really have a problem here, I would use this fact, the fact that the rate of teenagers giving birth increased by only 1 percentage point. Like, whoa, that's not that big. No big deal. We don't have to deal with this issue. If you want to argue that maybe our health class needs to talk more about the issues of pregnancy in teenagers, you would want to use this fact right here, which is true. The rate of teenagers giving birth increased by over 45% in 1 year. So if you have this statement increased by, was greater than, something like that, you would have to do the new minus old over old. If you just simply talked about percentage points and how much it's gone up by, then you're just subtracting the 2 values. All right, let's go ahead and let's summarize our knowledge. And this number 3 here is going to be a review. Fill in the sentences. Graduation rates in 2020 are blank % higher than 2011 graduation rates. Well, as soon as I see higher than, I know that that's a new minus old over old. Okay, well, my new is going to be 90%. My old is going to be 2011. So let's go ahead and let's do that. So that's going to be 90 minus 79 divided by, what did I write, 72? 79 over 79. So in the numerator, 90 minus 79 gives me 11. So 11 over 79 gives me 0.1392. Now I'm going to multiply that by 100, or if you want, you can just move that decimal over 2 places. So that's going to give me 13.92%, or I'll just say 13.9%. So graduation rates in 2020 are 13.9%, higher than 2011 graduation rates. All right, next one says from 2011 to 2020, graduation rates increased by how many percentage points? Well, on number 2, all we have to do, because it's talking about percentage points, is do 90, which comes from that, minus 79. And 90 minus 79 is 11. So it's increased by 11 percentage points. All right, now let's talk about number 3, which is review. Remember, when we're talking about percent of, we have the following formula. Okay, take a look at this. This should be just a reminder from our last lesson. So graduation rates in 2020 are what percent of graduation rates in 2011? Okay, well, we're going to use this top one because we have 13.9% higher than. So this is going to be a 13.9 is equal to P, because it's P percent more than or higher than. So my P is equal to 13.9. So if I want my percent of, I would throw my 13.9 into P. And 100 plus 13.9 is going to give me 113.9% of. Okay, so that's going to be 113.9% of. And so you can see how the wording is really complicated. If I have a percent higher than, I do new minus old over old. If I'm talking about percentage points, I'm just going to subtract the value of my percentages. And if I'm talking about percent of, what I do is I take that number that's my percent higher than, and I'm going to plug that 13.9 in for P here, right? P is percent more than. So I'm just taking that P and I'm plugging in here, and that's how I got 100 plus 13.9 to give me the 113.9% of. I think it's time to just do one more practice problem. I might give you this and say, give me 2 sentences that restates this fact. So first, Tucker scored an 85% on his first Math 101 quiz. He scored a 95% on his second quiz. Well, let's find the relative change. That's going to be equal to new minus old over old times 100. So my 95% is my new, my 85% is my old. So this is going to be 95 minus 85 divided by 85, and then we're going to multiply that by 100. Well, that gives us 10 over 85 times 100. Well, 10 divided by 85 gives me 0.1176 times 100, or just move the decimal over 2 places, and I get 11.76%, or we can just call that 11.8%. Okay, how am I going to make this sentence? I'm going to say something like, Tucker's score improved by 11.8%. Another way you can say this is Tucker's second quiz was 11.8% greater than his first quiz. So I wouldn't consider these two different sentences. And actually, I kind of like this one better, this second one, because it says greater than. This one implies a rate because it's improving by a percentage. It's implying a rate, but I kind of like that one that I boxed. All right, the second sentence I would like is just subtracting the two numbers. And if I do 95% minus 85%, I get 10 percentage points. So I would say Tucker's second quiz was 10 percentage points better than his first quiz. All right, so you can see that we can create two different sentences with different numbers, and they're both true. If you're going to say something with a greater than or implying a rate, you have to make sure you do new minus old over old. If you're just telling me how many percentage points different it is, you're just going to subtract your two percentages. Thanks for watching, everyone. Have a great day.